1. The worst case factory. You've got a presentation on Friday, but instead of rehearsing, you're lying in bed at 2 a.m. Your brain is running disaster scenarios. What if the projector fails? What if I forget my opening lines? What if someone asks a question I can't answer? What if my mind goes blank? What if the room goes silent? Will everyone judge me? You imagine every worst possible thing that can happen. It feels like preparation, like you're stress testing the plan. Bro, it's nothing but the worst case factory. The myth is thinking through all the worst possible outcomes would somehow make you prepare for everything. That if you mentally rehearse failure enough times, you'll somehow be ready when things go wrong. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain is creating panic, and thinking of problems won't prepare you any better. You're just covering up your anxiety. Think of it like this. You wouldn't train for a marathon by lying on the couch imagining every way your knees could give out. The only way you would train for a marathon is by actually running, because your body learns better from movement. Your brain works the same way. Mental disaster drills don't build skills. They build more anxiety, because each time you imagine the worst, your brain logs it as, this is dangerous. And since you never actually do the thing, you never get the evidence that you can handle it. So the loop keeps running. You don't take action. You never escape the loop. The cost: you spend hours in your head running scenarios that will never happen. Meanwhile, real preparation, practice, feedback, and small adjustments get zero time. Opportunities pass while you're imagining an apocalypse in the dark. Here's the better idea. Set a timer, 10 minutes to plan. Ask, if the presentation goes wrong, what's one thing I'll do? Write it down. Then stop. Now take one real action. Rehearse your opening once, out loud. Send the draft to one person. Get feedback. Do a 5-minute run-through on your phone. Remember, more reps mean you'll eventually solve the problem. 2. The second opinion trap. You're about to launch your first online store. You're excited, nervous, ready. So you ask your best friend what they think. They say, cool idea, but have you thought about running ads? Now you're thinking about running ads. So you ask someone on Instagram. They say, why not try SEO? Now you're searching SEO. And out of a sudden, you see your ex's post where she brags about how she scaled her brand with growth marketing. Now you hate the post, but deep down, you know you might be missing out on a major tactic. So you sign up to learn growth marketing. And all of a sudden, some cool nerd at the gym tells you to run ads and pick only one platform. 3 weeks later, you haven't launched anything. You just have 12 conflicting opinions and zero clarity. Bro, that's the second opinion trap. It's the belief that more input equals better decisions. The myth is that if you gather enough perspectives, the right path will reveal itself. Here's what actually happens. More opinions create more options create more doubt, and doubt kills momentum. Think of it like this. Imagine asking 20 people for directions to the same place. One says, take the highway. Another says back roads are faster. Someone else says there's construction going on, so go round. Another swears the highway's fine. Now you're standing at the intersection more confused than when you started. The destination didn't move. You just have too many maps. Here's what you might be missing. See, when you keep asking for input, you're not really looking for better answers. You're looking for permission. For someone to say, yes, this will definitely work, but no one can promise that. So you keep asking. The cost. Your initial excitement dies while you wait. Conflicting advice confuses you. You start 3 things, finish none. And every time you chase someone else's opinion, you're doubting yourself. Here's a better way. Pick 2 people you trust. Ask one specific question. Set a deadline to decide. Once you have input, choose within 24 hours. Then move. The goal isn't consensus. It's an informed action. You'll learn more from one failed launch than from 50 perfect opinions. 3. The clarity myth. You're scrolling TikTok. Your friends and colleagues are posting about their life. You think, I could do that, but then you stop yourself. I need to buy a real camera first. So you start researching the best cameras. 3 months later, you're still researching. You've read 12 articles, watched 7 tech videos on YouTube, shortlisted the top 4 cameras, but you haven't shot anything, haven't put yourself in focus even once, haven't posted even once. You're waiting to be 100% ready before you start. That's the clarity myth. The myth is that clarity comes before action, that once you figure it all out, the doing part will be easy. Here's what actually happens. Clarity comes from doing, not thinking. It's the output of action, not the input. Think of it like this. You don't learn to ride a bicycle by reading about balance. You get on the bike, you wobble, you fall, you adjust. After 50 tries, your body knows what balance feels like. That's clarity. Bro, you don't need to watch 10 tutorials on YouTube to learn how to ride. You just need to ride. Same with building anything. You can't think your way to knowing your niche. You have to try a few things publicly and see which one people respond to. No one can plan their way to a good offer in the first go. You have to pitch badly first, then adjust based on what people actually want. Here's some hidden truth. Waiting for clarity is often just fear pushing you back to the safe zone. Because I'm still figuring it out sounds better than I'm afraid of failing. The cost, time passes in research mode. Your skills don't grow because skills need reps. You stay the person who thinks he has potential, not the person who actually showed the world his potential. Here's the move. Stop trying to think your way to certainty. Start testing your way to clarity. Launch one small thing this week. A post, an offer, a conversation. Then ask, what did I learn? That feedback is clarity. Real, earned, useful. Thought gives you theory. Action gives you truth. There's no other way around. 4. The problem replacement. You finally fix the thing that was stressing you out. You hit publish. Your presentation is ready. Your deadline has just arrived. You breathe for 5 seconds. Then your brain goes, okay, cool. But what about this? Suddenly, you're worried about your job success score, your outdated website design, your profile bio missing all keywords. You curse yourself for not updating it last week. Now, you have a new problem. Every time you solve one, a new problem knocks on your door and says, do you remember me? That, my friend, is the problem replacement. It's like your brain swapping out problems like you're pedaling a bicycle. The myth is, when you focus on a problem, you get surrounded by better problems. It's your brain discussing a new problem every now and then to spike your dopamine. Think of it like this. You're not living in a disaster movie. You're living with a director who refuses to yell, cut. One scene ends, another begins. The camera never stops rolling. Uncertainty creeps in your head, making you worry about everything. Money, relationships, health, work, family, and the list goes on. Your mind starts running what-if loops. You get a tiny hit of relief because at least you're thinking about it. That feels like doing something. When that situation settles, your brain doesn't retire the habit. It just looks for the next unresolved detail so it can run the same loop again. The cost. A new problem keeps popping up on your brain's drawing board. You never get to celebrate wins because a new threat takes the spotlight immediately. It's like Messi scores in the extra time and then Ronaldo scores the equalizer. Now no team will celebrate. Same is going on with you. You keep telling yourself, I'm just an anxious person, when in reality, you're running an anxious pattern. Here's what is better to do. The content is not what matters most here. The process is. When your brain says, okay, that's sorted, but what about this? Label it. Oh, that's my brain forcing me to overthink. Don't chase the new topic. Give yourself 2 minutes to celebrate the closure. Write down the new concern, sure, but give yourself a specific time to think about it. Don't let it autoplay immediately. That breaks the replacement cycle. Your brain will learn. You can solve problems, then rest. 5. The recklessness reframe. You want to share your portfolio, or pitch a new client, or share an achievement from the previous month, but your brain says, whoa, slow down. That's reckless. You need more time, more proof, more certainty. Jumping in now would be irresponsible. So you wait, and you call it wisdom. The problem is it's not wise. It never was. It's just the recklessness reframe. It's your brain labeling action as reckless and inaction as wise. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain feels losses about twice as strongly as gains. Any risk of embarrassment, failure, or discomfort feels dangerous. So not doing anything feels smart. Moving feels stupid. Think of it like this. You're treating a paper cut like a stab wound. The brain's alarm system can't tell the difference between receiving a text from an ex and going without any prep in client meetings on a Zoom call. Both trigger the same danger signal. So it screams, don't move, stay safe. Here's the trap. Avoidance gives you immediate relief. No discomfort, no risk, no awkwardness. Your nervous system logs that as Good call. Staying put equals smart. Over time, stillness becomes the mature option, but it's not maturity, it's just the brain fooling us. The cost? You never face your fears or test your limits, so your confidence is just in your imagination. You adopt a self-image of being cautious or sensible, but your actual life stays small. You accept chronic low-level anxiety in exchange for avoiding short spikes of fear. Here's the shift. Distinguish between emotional risk and real-world risk. Feeling awkward isn't the same as losing your house. Most things you're avoiding are emotionally uncomfortable, not actually dangerous. Try the 10% rule. If it feels reckless at 100%, do a 10% version. Post one thing instead of 10. Pitch one client instead of 20. Send one email instead of launching a full campaign. Small, reversible experiments. That's not reckless. That's how you learn what's actually safe. Your brain will learn that it's not a threat anymore. 6. The memory loop you're about to text your friend from college. Then your brain goes, remember how she responded last time? All of a sudden, you're watching a highlight reel. That awkward silence. She leaving you on scene made you look stupid. You have those thoughts for an hour and don't take action because inertia has taken over your mind. Bro, that's the memory loop. It's your brain running a worst of compilation right when you need confidence. Here's what's happening. Most of the time, our brain replays moments of trauma and pain, even the ones tied to shame, fear, or embarrassment. They're easier to access than helping us cope. So when we are about to take a risk, our brain pulls up the most painful clips to protect us. Think of it like this. You're about to go on stage. Your brain replays every time you forgot your lines, tripped on the stairs, or bombed in front of a crowd. It's not helping. It's sabotaging. You're about to take a step, post, ask, apply, launch. Your brain flags this as risky. It pulls up past failures as evidence. It seems stressful. Let's stand down. Each replay increases the same shame, dread, and anxiety. Your brain interprets that as confirmation. This is dangerous. So you don't move. And because you don't move, you never get a new memory where you handled it better. The old reel remains the only footage. The cost? You lose confidence because only your worst clips are on screen. All your I coped or I improved moments are hidden. The more you identify with those replays, the more your self-concept shrinks. You become someone who fails, not someone who learns. Here's the shift. When a memory of failure pops up at the moment of action, label it, that's my memory loop, not a prophecy. Then deliberately recall one time you coped well, or had control of the situation after messing up. Then take a tiny action anyway. Even a small, imperfect attempt becomes new footage. Your brain needs updated clips, not just the old disasters on repeat. 7. The comfort of the loop. You've been thinking about the same thing for 3 weeks. Should you take a swimming class? Should you swing for the fence and ask her out? Should you reach out to an old client? You go in circles. Pros, cons, what ifs, maybe. It feels like you're working on it, like you're being thorough, but nothing's changed. Not one thing. Bro, that's the comfort of the loop. The myth is that you're thinking it through, that you're being diligent by being cautious and planning ahead. But in reality, your avoidance creates habit loops. Trigger, avoidance, relief. That relief is the reward. So your brain learns staying in the mental loop equals safety. You're not actually in control. You're in control of your thoughts, not your life. And nothing is more comforting than seeing yourself in fantasy scenarios. Thinking of all the beautiful scenarios won't carve out the character we've longed to see ourselves grow into. Anybody can think, but when it comes to doing, there's barely a small group of people who can execute it. Here's the trap. Change feels threatening. The unknown is scary. So your brain prefers the known discomfort of the loop to the unknown discomfort of action. Every time you stay in the loop, you get relief from risk. The comforting story, I'm working on it. Even when you're not. Over time, this rewires your system to value continuity over growth. You become allergic to uncertainty. The cost? Your tolerance for the unfamiliar shrinks. Anything new feels increasingly unbearable. You miss compounding returns, skills, audience, money, experiences, all the things that only show up when you move. You start equating calm with no growth. So any attempt to change feels wrong. Here's what's better to think. Safety isn't the absence of discomfort. It's the ability to feel discomfort without shutting down. The real choice isn't between thinking and reckless action. It's between familiar and unfamiliar territory. Redefine comfort as, I know I can bring myself back to baseline after trying something. That's the flexibility you need. Set a simple rule. When you catch yourself in a loop for the third time, take one small external action. Send, ask, write, schedule. Train your brain that movement equals safety. Not just thinking. The loop feels safe because it's familiar, but familiar isn't the same as good. 8. The fake urgency. You're sitting at your desk. You need to send one email. Just one. But your heart's racing. Your palms are sweating. Your brain is screaming, this is critical. This needs to be perfect. This could ruin everything. It's 11 p.m. You've rewritten the subject line 14 times. You still haven't hit send. Nothing is actually on fire. But it feels like it is. Bro, that's the fake urgency. The myth is that something worse is going to happen if you don't finish on time. That the world will have zombies if you don't make a sale today. That if you don't go to the gym on a Sunday morning, you'll never have abs. It's nothing more than your brain manufacturing an emergency when the situation is completely normal. Here's what's actually happening. A tiny what if pops into your head. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, releases stress hormones. Adrenaline, cortisol, your body shifts into its fight or flight mechanism. Now your heart's pounding, your breathing's shallow, and your brain says, if I feel this worked up, this must be serious. So it locks onto the thought, which keeps the alarm ringing. Think of it like this. You're getting push notifications from a smoke alarm, not a burning house. Your brain can't tell the difference between important and intense. It just assumes big feeling equals big problem. Here's the trap. Because you never actually send the email, you never get the feedback that says, we were safe all along. The only data your brain has is, we felt scared, so it must have been dangerous. The loop continues. The cost. Your nervous system stays in overdrive. Chronic stress, constant fatigue, your ability to plan, decide, or think clearly gets hijacked because the alarm system is hogging all your attention. Over time, this keeps you stuck in anxiety, not because the world is dangerous, but because your brain keeps running fake fire drills. Here's the shift. Feeling urgent doesn't mean it is urgent. When your brain screams, this is critical, ask yourself, what would I do if this were not so important? That question kills the siren. Then take one small, sane action. Send the email, make the call, post the thing. Your body will learn, oh, we survived. It wasn't an emergency. That's how you turn off the alarm. These excuses aren't who you are. They're the walls your brain has put to delude you and keep you trapped in the comfort zone. Of course, without permission. And right now, they're draining your time, money, and relationships. The second you can see them happening, you need to act, brother. What comes next is everything. Catch yourself. Notice. Choose differently. This is what Growth Lab is built for.